Hi there, my friends. How are you doing? It seems that you are getting up on the right side this morning and having a good mood for daily routine. Well, at first, let me shortly introduce myself. I am Edward. My major was piloting and navigation. I graduated from College of Chinese Culture in 1974, and I got MBA from Beijing Institute of Economics and Management in 2006. I was engaging in industrial automatic control engineering turnkey project for about some 40 years. Well, I retired 7 years ago and went along with my wife become volunteering culture and history docent in recent years for Sanxia Old Street and Sanxia Zhusi Temple. I didn't expect that I'm hooked on the old Eastern civilization of ancient China and having some acquaintance with Taiwan's native culture while engaging in volunteering culture and history guiding docent. I'm so glad standing here sharing with my experience to you, and in the meantime, I'm deeply impressed by seeing so many foreign friends here. As far as I know, hundreds of years ago in the American continent, in 1848, pioneers who crossed the continent in their covered wagons made the trip in 109 days if they were fortunate and strong. Today, a New York family can drive by automobile to San Francisco in less than a week, or make the trip in several days by train, or fly there in 5 hours. Transportation has conquered the vastness of the land and brought together people living thousands of kilometers apart. Really, how lucky we are getting together today, even though it's thousands of miles away yesterday. Now let's get back to the topic. I'm preparing to share with ladies and gentlemen here today about discovery of Taiwan on a perspective of cultural anthropology. This is a light version, especially focused on the world of Han Chinese people. However, frankly speaking, the range is still too wide, involved in everything related to all of ethnic Chinese. Therefore, difficulties lie behind us, even though as we are native Chinese, not to mention non-Chinese speaking foreign friends. However, in order to let you easily get in, I try my best to simplify it to be easier to understand. Before circa 221 BC, there was chaos world in ancient China. 7 leading states during the Warring States period circa 475 to 221 BC. According to historical record of ancient China, the imperial rule of political unity was beginning from the Great Qin Empire. Under the political unity of Qin dynasty, the intangible assimilation bonds among different nationalities constituted a favorable condition to speed up ethnic fusion, which was assimilated unconsciously undergoing after thousands of years, and at last, the Han nationality, which made of it what became known as the melting pot, the fusion of people from many nationalities into Han nationality, and finally made what Han nationality is as a representative of the classical Chinese culture, history, and architecture. As we all know that The Chinese nation is made up of over 50 different nationalities. To be more exact, there are 56 nationalities, which was issued by mainland China in recent years, such as the Han nationality, Man, Mongol, Hui, Zhang, Miao, Zhuang, Yao, Turkic and Tujia nationality, etc. Well, I'm not a computer, I couldn't list them all completely. And on the other hand, Chinese culture, with the Han culture as its core, was created and enriched by all the nationalities working in concert. For the 18th century's immigration movement of Han immigrants moved from mainland China to Taiwan made what Taiwan is today. Chinese culture, history and architecture come to life again in Taiwan. Now, let me introduce about historical development and settlement background of Han immigrants movement in northern Taiwan, for instance. That is a long story containing many moving and heroic deeds above all praise. So far as we learned long times ago, substantial members of immigrants from migration waves of Chinese people moved from mainland China to Taiwan to find a newfound land in 18th century. Immigrants, including people mostly from Quanzhou, Zhangzhou, and Hakka people. During that period of the migration waves, the situation was then under harsh environments. It was so bad for our ancestors to move from mainland China to Taiwan. And all Taiwanese saying revealed the result after these dangerous movements from mainland China to Taiwan. Realistically, that is, 6 persons of 10 died along the way of movement, while 3 stayed and 1 changed his mind and returned back. It is describing appropriately how tough the job our ancestors had been faced while migrated from China by sailing ancient donks across the plunging and racing troubled seas of Taiwan Strait. A group of immigrants landed in the estuary of Danshui River in northern Taiwan. They brought along with them their small statuettes representing their great ancestor and patron saint of each of their different group of immigrants' original hometown. Then they gradually moved and settled down along the Danshui River and still moved upward to find a better farmland. Each group of immigrants gradually settled down in Danshui, Dadaocheng, Manga, Xinzhuang, Sanxia, and Daxi. I have started reading up anthropology after making an intensive study of it and found an interesting result of immigrant process between East and West world. Now, let's compare the different process of movement and settlement in Taiwan with American frontier settlers' Western development process. The immigrants moved from mainland China via the Sea of Taiwan Strait first, then some settled down near the estuary of Danshui River, and some other groups still moved upward along the inland river, reclaimed the wasteland deeply in the dangerous mountains. On the other hand, we may see the features on the topographic map are almost the same in everywhere. The mountains look like jagged masses, the plains like vast open flat spaces, and the rivers like meandering threads. Today, highways and railways crisscross the land, making travel easy. But only a few generations ago, the topographic features on a map represented great dangers and difficulties in the whole world. Today's visitors in the United States, riding over a good road in the Cascade Mountains in the west coast states of Oregon and Washington, may see marks on the rocks made by ropes where pioneer settlers painfully lowered their horses and wagons down cliffs to reach the fertile river valley far below. In the Sierra Nevada mountains of California, the main route now runs through a mountain pass which was once too narrow for a wagon to go through. Pioneers' families reaching that pass had to take their wagons apart piece by piece, carry them through, and then reassemble them on the other side. Frontier settlers learned the value of cooperation along the way to the west. They learned that one helps a neighbor today because he may need that neighbor's help tomorrow. As they traveled across the trackless plains, they learned to form their wagons into a circle at night for protection against Indian attacks. The early village development and settlement process in the United States as follows. After frontier pioneers settled down, the church was erected on the settlement place in the early United States at a time of development in the western region. The church functioned as the spiritual center of a commitment to spirit for American Western frontier settler pioneers. The picture of wooden church building was erected in Old West Town when the frontier pioneers settled down. The picture shows the inside of the church. Just as the church erected up in the early United States at the time of development of the western region, it functions as the spiritual center of a commitment to spirit for American Western frontier settler pioneers. After comparison the result of the process and found that it is so interesting, the function of the village temple in Taiwan is the same as the church in the American Great West. It can be called a village which without a temple. Where there is a village, there must be a temple. This special phenomenon commonly existed in early village development and settlement process in Taiwan. Temple is one of strange and particular features which were developed in the process of Han nationality's movement and settlement. A temple is an obvious landmark of geographic location which also acting as the spiritual center of a commitment to spirit for immigrants. A temple was commonly built in the center of a village where the wasteland had been reclaimed under cultivation, no matter where in Taiwan. This is the original culture and history outline of early Taiwan, just as the church erected in the early United States at a time of development in the western region. These geographic features in Taiwan tells us that the partnership of land and immigrants in Taiwan and of some of the special phenomenon that partnership brought about had confirmed that mentioned earlier what it can be called a village which without a temple. Where there is a village, there must be a temple. And the following pictures will show that These listed temples are the representatives of which were built by different immigrant groups of people who settled down first in Danshui and then Shilin. The picture shows the Insan Temple, which was constructed in 1822 by Hakka people in Danshui. This one shows the Qinshuiyan, which was built in 1932 by immigrant Anxi Quanzhou people in Danshui. Picture shows the Huiji Gong was erected in 1752 by Zhangzhou people when they settled down in Shilin. The listed temples were the symbols which were erected by immigrant Quanzhou people around Dadaoceng. Baoan Gong was constructed in 1800 by Tong'an Quanzhou people when they settled down in Dalongdong. Picture shows the Qinshuiyan, which was built in 1787 by immigrant Anxi Quanzhou people in Bangka. The listed temple was the symbol which was erected by immigrant Hakka people in Xinzhuang. Picture shows the Guangfu Gong, which was erected in 1780 by Hakka people in Xinzhuang. The listed temples were the symbols which were erected by immigrants around their settled villages. Picture shows the Changfuyan was built in 1769 by Anxi Quanzhou people in Sanxia. Renhe Gong was built in 1673 by Zhangzhou people when they settled down in Daxi. However, there is a place, Penghu. It cannot be ignored. Pescadores are the springboard, the en route stop when immigrants moved from mainland China to Taiwan. Some Han Chinese people settled down in Pescadores first. Precisely because of it, there is an earliest temple which was built in Penghu. There is a 17th century illustration of Mazu Temple in Penghu, painted by Arthur Dapper, included in his book, which was published in 1670 in Amsterdam. The work includes many remarks on Chinese manners and customs, showing interior of a temple has been confirmed about 400 years ago. According to the reliable literature, Penghu Mazu Temple was erected before 1604 in Ming Dynasty. This view has been confirmed, obviously, as mentioned earlier, that where there is a village, there must be a temple.